wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show, my people. Belize our hopes so to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. Is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. WB. And all the things that we feel happen like I got blue skies. And nothing make people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Get up, make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part, play your role, get where you need to. You can tune in from work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait? It's a time calling. It's a show. It no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. WB. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show, my people. Belize our hopes so to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. It's the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. WB. And all the things that we feel happen like I got blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB.
morning and welcome to Wake Up WUB Morning Vibes, XTV #1 talk show behind the zinc fence, Southside, sweet Southside, Belize City. I'm Sister YaYa Marin Coleman, sitting in for Brother Most High this morning, Tuesday, October 29th. In the Gregorian year of 2024, it's a wet one in Belize City. I don't know how it stands the rest of the country, but we have found out directly when we do the weather forecast. And you may tune in to us on XTV Belize YouTube, XTV Belize Facebook page, local channels. We're simulcasting on Creme Radio. I had to look for the piece of paper. We have the forecaster. Okay, I got that. I don't know when I ever get used to this, but it's always fun when I get an opportunity to host Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. I know how you go when it wet. I see with neighbor got the clothes by line and wet up. A lot of terrible things but when it rain. But give thanks we have life. We wake up with a move. It's conversation time. It's communication time. Community conversation time. So we'll do the regular. We will have the Belize National Meteorological Service forecast. And that would be by weather forecaster Tariq Matthews. I hope that's the right paper to read from. And then after that, we'll have XTV First News Brief for this morning. And then we're going to start to reason with one another.
Good morning, Belize. Moist and somewhat unstable conditions continues to linger over our area. The 24-hour forecast, skies will be mostly cloudy. A few showers, periods of light to moderate rain, or isolated thunderstorms will affect northern and coastal areas this morning and mostly central and inland areas this afternoon. Then, shore activity will decrease and become isolated this evening, with a chance for a few more mainly along the coast later tonight. The maximum temperatures for today will reach 85 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 86 inland and 74 up in the hills. The low temperatures for tonight will be around 74 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 72 inland and 65 up in the hills. The winds will be light and variable, becoming northeasterly at 5 to 10 knots later today, and the sea conditions will be choppy. A high tide will occur this morning at 8:13, a low tide this afternoon at 2:22, another high tide tonight at 8:10, and another low tide early tomorrow morning at 2:54. The sun rose this morning at 5:50 and will set this evening at 5:22. The moon will set this evening at 3:43 and will rise early tomorrow morning at 4:17. The outlook for Wednesday and Wednesday night, skies will be cloudy at times. Showers and thunderstorms will be generally isolated, with a few more occurring over inland areas Wednesday afternoon and mainly over northern and coastal areas Wednesday night. In the tropical weather outlook, tropical cyclone formation is not expected over the North Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea, or the Gulf of Mexico during the next 48 hours. However, a broad area of low pressure is likely to develop over the southwestern Caribbean Sea and has a medium chance of development during the next 7 days. For more details on our forecast products, please visit our website at nms.gov.bz. With that, we end this morning's forecast from the Belize National Met Service.
The first prime in Belize since 1989, Creme FM presents the news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news. The first private radio in Belize since 1989, Creme FM presents the news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news.
For the Portico Senate inquiry, former government minister Erwin Contreras appeared Monday morning before the committee for its 8th hearing. As you may recall, Contreras signed the now infamous Portico Definitive Agreement, which his former colleagues subsequently said was unlawful. However, Contreras was not at the National Assembly of his own will, as he had previously declined an invitation to attend. Reports are that police picked him up at his Camalote home on the strength of a court warrant. He made it before the senators just after midday and gave a personal statement before walking out, even as the committee chairperson, Senator Janelle Chinona, reminded him he was there on the strength of a warrant. He reported that since the matter is in court, he cannot discuss the case.
Hear that You are to be here. Excuse me, sir, you are here under warrant. Mr. Contreras, you are here under warrant.
Second notice of government's acquisition of the 23.4-acre extension of Stake Bank Island was gazetted several days ago, despite the government giving the court an undertaking that this would not be done until the challenge of the acquisition is heard in court. That is set for December 19 and 20 this year. Our sources say government has explained it was not intentional and that Print Belize went ahead in printing the second notice without their go-ahead. As such, the government last week filed an affidavit from the Minister of Natural Resources as well as from the Attorney General to reassure the court that the publication was unintentional and has been rescinded. Last week, the Carl-Houston Memorial Hospital Authority Workers Union, KHMHA-W, vehemently rejected the government's introduction of an amendment to the relevant act to replace the staff union representative with a representative from the National Trade Union Congress of Belize. At a press conference yesterday, Union President Andrew Baird said their right to have a say at the highest levels of the institution is being removed.
So in totality, what they are saying to us is that the voices of the workers of Carl-Houston Memorial Hospital does not matter to the board anymore. The principle on which we were allowed to the board by the said government, who amended the Act in 2021, for accountability, the mere principle for accountability and transparency, and for the workers of the institution to have a say in decision making that affects us within the institution, is now being eroded by the said government. We can only classify that having the union rep on the board has been working in the best interest of the institution and the staff, but not in the best interest of the politicians. Because if there was a representative that was hanky-panky and allowing everything to occur, they would not have amended the Act. They would not have amended the Act any at all. Nevertheless, this also can only be classified as a direct hit of union busting. Our union has made it clear that it is unacceptable. We will leave no stone unturned to let the government understand that Carl-Houston Workers Union will not give up. We will do what's necessary to ensure that our representative remains on the board. I believe by the government stating that they will now allow a member of the NTUCB to be on the board is a matter of trying to create animosity among the NTUCB and its affiliates. Government well know that the union, Carl-Houston Memorial Hospital, is a member of the umbrella group, and by no means will allow the government to inject such type of issues or animosity within our means.
Baird says he sent a message to the Prime Minister, and his response was that it is a conflict of interest to have the staff union represented on the board. Baird was combative on that response, pointing out that the conflict of interest is nepotism as a result of government appointments on the board. Baird says they are looking at their legal options. Present at the head table was the NTUCB Senator Glenfield Dennison.
The amendment that was brought in the House, in my respectful view, can only have one effect, and it is to remove your representation from the board. I say that because of two things. We can follow the government as it relates to saying there is a change of policy now and we want broader workers being represented, we can follow them down that road. And so we will shift it to the umbrella organization. I repeat categorically, we never asked for that. However, the wording of the amendment is so targeted that it leads me to believe that we are no longer legislating for a policy. We must be in the realm of legislating for personalities. And so I ask you to question yourself as to who this sort of amendment would benefit the most. It can't be you, because you will be removed from knowing what's happening at the highest decision making body of your employer, the KHMH authority. And so it really smacks of bad governance. And it allows me, it brings to my mind that I want to call this, I get in trouble when I say these things, but I want to call this the Alain or Andrew Amendment. And so congratulations, my brothers, because you have made it on the big stage. You are being legislated for. And that means that you are doing what is in the best interest of your workers, and the stage at which you are doing it is causing discomfort. And so the move then is a legislative one. Instead of fixing the issues and ensuring that the management, the board is working with the employees and their representative to try to sort out those issues, it's a big stick approach and saying, here we go, we tear down and bye.
To the end of this morning's news brief, the first one for the day from back at the zinc fence. On Creme Radio from 9 to 12, immediately after Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes, which goes from about 6:30 to 9, is the morning stew, and you could get news when I make the local news stream on morning stew. And then on Creme Radio, there's a full news package at 12:15. There's a news brief at 3:15, and a full news package at 5:15. Here at XTV, there's a full news package at 6. Again, at XTV, you may stream the news at XTV Belize on YouTube and XTV Belize on Facebook. Tune into your local radio and television channels for the news briefs at XTV and Creme Radio. And we'll take a short break and be right back.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989. The news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports.
In the heart of a thriving country,
Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes for this morning, Tuesday, October 29, 2024. And I want to know how you go. We have our phone number. It's 280-5848. 280-5848. I'm going to call Colleen. Reason with me. There's a guest scheduled at 8 o'clock, and he'll probably be on for the rest of the morning. I'm very excited about the guests. So we'll start off the morning on What One Tuesday morning. I can share my affirmation with you this morning. It says, time is sacred and so are you. Be selective about how you spend it. Be intentional about where and with whom you place yourself. So that's an affirmation for the day. Yesterday was hot. Yesterday was hot because our absolutely intelligent, dynamic, upstart, just an awesome human being. Our XTV Crime Radio news director, Marin, was the guest here on XTV with Mose because of an extensive, comprehensive article she wrote that should be in this Friday's Mandela. At least a portion of it, I think, will be because it's very lengthy, on the Belize economic zone. Anyways, then they did a good job yesterday, but I just to say it because I'm going to try and get in because I really want to, besides it's very long, but that's because it's comprehensive, holistic. Besides all and it takes a lot of hours, my gosh, I'm concerned about my sister, I need some rest, it'll burn the candles from both, and I still have a check-in for my sister. But one of the things that I really liked about it, I don't know how that will pan out in the newspaper, and that's why I encourage you to subscribe for the Mandela newspaper and there's a Tuesday subscription. The Tuesday Mandela is online. Friday one is online, and it's there's a hard copy. Anyways, one of the joys of subscribing for the Mandela online, one, you get some story when I make to the newspaper. So like 2 weeks ago, that story was in the Mandela online. And one of the joys about seeing it online is that, and this is what I want to call, really recognize Marisolfa. Besides the awesome research that she did as far as the literature, it's the accompanying the images. So you have pictures, you have video interviews, you have graphs, you have maps. It's just, it really makes the story just pop. And you could tell what I realized, the advantages of being the news director and what you have access to and the skills you have and the people you know. It was a team effort for damn sure. She could not have done it with all the people who supported her. But big, big, big respect to Marisol Amaya. I want to say to her one time with on the air, but I never know I'm beautiful host this morning, so everything worked out. So that's one thing. The next thing I want to talk about is the guest for today. The guest for today, again, if you subscribe for Mandela Online, if you go online, there are excerpts of an article that he wrote last Friday. He's an elder from Grenada who has been living in the United Kingdom since the early 60s. His name is Brother Gus John. He's one of my good troublemaker mentors. And he wrote an article in the Canary, which is a left-wing news website. And the name of the article is Gus John delivers a scathing open letter to David Lammy over Black History Month and slavery reparations. David Lammy is the Labour Party Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs of the United Kingdom. When I thank you, I just absolutely love when our MCOs are on it. Our MCO this morning is a youth, Black youth, brilliant, creative artist, showing how good it goes directly. We're talking about Alexis Villisle. Thanks, Alexis. So that's at the prepper because he's coming on at 8 o'clock, or he's scheduled to come on at 8 o'clock. So we could have meaty conversation. If you Google the name, Professor Gus John, you want to say all the battery he gave. And I met him tomorrow will make a year since I met him. When I was in the UK. Good morning, caller. Thank you for calling. Talk to it.
Morning, sis.
Morning.
Nigel Martinez.
Hey, morning, brother. How the morning?
It's a wet morning, but it's a beautiful morning.
Belize Federation of Fishers in the house. Talk to it, brother. You hear Marisol yesterday?
Well, yesterday I wanted to get in so bad. It was amazing. Marisol was spot on. She was right on track. She hit the nail on the head. And I wanted to congratulate her. I wanted to congratulate the work that she's doing, the work that the other journalists as well are doing. I think that those work are going to speak volume in Belize and across the globe, especially for our partners who are interested in ensuring that we have a sustainable fishery. But if you allow me, sis, I just want to dive into why we are here and why it is important for Belizeans to take a very close look to that article.
Before you jump into it, and you most definitely can, it's called Belize Fisheries Waters, New Frontiers Under Threat. It's by Alinda Marisol Amaya, XTV Crime News, dated October 20, 2024. And this story was produced with support from the Earth Journalism Network. Belize set sight on exploring its EEZ, which is the Exclusive Economic Zone. All right, brother, go ahead.
And shout out to the EJN as well, because they have been instrumental in ensuring that the journalists for Belize are given that opportunity to show their expertise and to show their knowledge. And even though Marisol alluded to the financial challenges and the challenges on a whole of going across this country to document and to provide facts, so kudos to her and kudos to Creme TV as
XTV.
well as XTV, sorry, as well as the Amandala. But I want to dive in a little to why we are here, because listen, we have been the BFS in particular have been saying that our fishery is in crisis, and we were only talking about our internal waters and our territorial seas. Now, when we had sounded the alarm, we had significant pushback from the fisheries department, and I wasn't surprised that Marisol got the pushback that she got, as well as you'll hear from the other journalists. They themselves have gotten significant pushback. But we have been saying this from the outset, and the response from the regulating bodies, the fisheries department in particular, by extension the ministry, they have been saying that the fishers need to go deeper, and that deeper is within our territorial waters, which is known as Area 9. And we have said that we are willing to go deeper, but you guys don't want to invest in us. You prefer to invest in consultancies and other resources instead of investing in the major stakeholders. So that is why we are here. Yesterday, Mose asked a very important question, whether or not our fishers are prepared to take the lead. And I can tell you categorically, we are prepared. We are ready. We have been doing it. And we are not saying that we want to go all the way to the EEZ, but the fact that we are ready to go deeper, we need the resources. If you can recall, sis, we had applied to the Conservation Fund for $75,000 US. And allow me to break this down for you and to your listeners. $75,000 US, 95% of that money was going to assist 10 fisher folk, 10 captains, and 3 crew members. That's a total of 30 fisher folks. And 95% of that money was going into purchasing the necessary equipment that they need to go deeper. And you know that that was denied. And not only that it was denied, and the fact that you have directors who are made in excess of $75,000 US. In excess of $75,000.
What directors are you referring to?
Sorry, say it again?
Which directors are you referring to?
I am saying that there are NGOs, managers, executive directors who are making annual salaries within that value. So us asking for $75,000 US to assist just 30 fisher folks, which is a small fraction of the population of fisher folks that is doing deep sea right now. A small fraction. But let me just break down how hypocrisy this situation is. If you can recall, the country of Belize, the government of Belize, the Fisheries Department, had gotten over $7 million US through an MCAP grant.
Did you say billion with a B or M?
I said million.
Oh, million.
They had gotten over $7 million US through an MCAP grant. And out of that grant, 2.4 million was to go to alternative livelihood. And a majority of this money, over 5 million, 5.5 million, came from the World Bank. And out of that, 2.4 million was to go to alternative livelihood. Where are the alternative livelihood for these fisher folks? That is the reason why we are in the situation that we are in. $1 million of that money went back to the World Bank because they could not spend it. And then fast forward, we have now went to the IDB and we have gotten $7 million US as a loan. Now look at it. Marisol touched on this a little bit yesterday. 65% of that loan is going to the Fisheries Department to do stock assessment and to do other research. 65%, right? A small percent, which is only 1 point something million, is going to fisher folks. Now, this grant, let's break it down. This grant is going to disperse over a period of 5 years. They have already gotten the money, a portion of the money, because it's been dispersed in phase. The phase that's supposed to assist the fishers, we were told, is not coming until next year, 2025. And this was in result to the hurricane that had hit. Why am I saying all of this, YaYa? I am saying this because when you look at the hypocrisy, they talk about conservation. They talk about wanting to protect our resources, wanting to assist the stakeholder, the grassroots fisher folk. But they are not putting their words into action. They are not. When you look at that $7 million loan, you're talking about over a repayment period of 20 years. 20 years, sis. You know how much of these brothers are going to be out of the fishery within 20 years? We do not even know if our fishery is going to last within 20 years. And I don't want to go so much into the stock assessment because there's an excellent piece that is coming as it relates to that. But I just want to highlight the fact, because most have asked the question, whether or not our fishers are ready to take the leap. And I can tell you categorically, they are ready.
Question, Nigel. The way I understood when Brother George Mavitt called in yesterday, who's a consultant for Belize Federation of Fishers, he's saying that in the EEZ, that's how I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, that we don't have the volume of fish for industrial fishing. If they have it, the way how he explained it, if they have it, it'll be for we local fishers. Is that how you understood what he said yesterday?
That is exactly how we understand it, and we have made that suggestion. We have even categorically stated to the Fisheries Department, we do not entertain any kind of industrialized fishing. We are saying that we have the resources here to sustain our country, and we are prepared to use those resources to sustain our country. So we are saying that we are a small-scale fishery. Invest in our fisher folk. Listen, that loan scheme that they instituted a while back through the ENC, that the Prime Minister have indicated that only 320 fisher folks got loans at a value of $2 million. $2 million Belize. That's only a small percentage of the fisher folks. One. Two, the fisher folks that got those loans are mainly from the north. Three, if you look at the funds from the IDB loan, right? That is more than 2 million Belize dollars, because it's 1.6 million US dollars. If that money would have been injected into the industry, as opposed to have these guys go deep down into their pocket and now invest into loans, which is going to be significant for them, because one, they are high interest rate. Two, the fact that the stock are depleting. Listen, fishers have stated on more than one occasion that one of the major threats to our fishing industry right now is overfishing. But how are they addressing it? They are not addressing it, sis. They continue to give licenses. They continue to recognize that we have an open access system. They refuse to put a cap on our fisher folks. They refuse to ensure that there are legislative changes that are needed to address the problems that we are facing. But what do they continue to do? They need to reach out because they have signed this Blue Bond agreement, which I would want, and I would lobby with EJN to ensure that one of the journalists, or more than one of the journalists, do a deep dive into this Blue Bond agreement. You and I know, sis, that we had people that came that looked at that Blue Bond, and we know who are the middle players in that Blue Bond. And
just pick a pin. The deadline is this month. I think it's like 12 journalists applied for it because they had put out a calling. Journalists could apply. You get the funding. UEF, UBAD Educational Foundation, the fourth pillar of this African Black-owned media house, majority share Black-owned, that is. We started the awareness about the Blue Bond and had a Blue Bond campaign on Sunday Review. We brought in some our people that were in a solidarity with we. They meet BFF. We travel the country, talk to fishers. And so we could say from a human right perspective, when it comes to the Blue Bonds, it's a violation of Belizean human rights. But I just contact one of our people, Nigel, this man is a matter of fact. So we're waiting for them to give us back the report back, and UEF going all out for a national campaign about the Blue Bond, because what started to happen in Nigeria, where you just expand upon, and you know this better than me, is that bags of money keep the coming in this country. Bags. You hear in US dollars with Nigeria, the code, and that's a fraction. US dollars. Millions. And they keep the fishers there for bait, and talk about alternative livelihood. What the fishers tell you what I thought was one of the best thing I ever hear is they salt enough for weave in. So when they could say, make a go raise pig, we are taking the money, go out the pig pen, but we still go in the water because salt in our vein. So this alternative livelihood and using fishers as bait, not a work. Go ahead, brother.
Exactly, and those are some of the points that we want to highlight. And as I mentioned, there are many more stories coming. These journalists have been doing an exceptionally great job. They're bringing the truth to light, and we are going to stand by them to ensure that people are aware of what is taking place. Because, listen, the Managed Access Program we know that it's not working, and we have seen whereby consultancy has come in to address the managed access program based on things that we have been saying categorically for quite some time now. So it doesn't make sense that we continue to repeat the process over and over, and the changes that are not. So continue to advocate on behalf of the Federation that this is a major concern. We have to continue to stand in solidarity, support our local journalists, ensure that they get the required information that they need, that they are requesting, so that our public can be educated on what has been taking place. Because at the end of the day, sis, I'll be real, the amount of millions of dollars, one of the next good journalistic stories that we need to have out there, the fact that millions, hundreds of millions of dollars have been coming into conservation. So why are we in this situation? That is going to be an excellent journalistic story that our journalists can participate in, to look over the last 2 decades how much money have been raised, have been granted to this country for conservation, and our colleagues, our fisher folk, are still in poverty. And I wanted Marisol, I was hoping yesterday that she could have highlighted when she went into these communities, the situation with these young men's vessels, their engines, the fact that they cannot get parts, the fact that engines are so expensive, the fact that boats are so expensive and they have to be patching and patching and patching. I wanted her to dive into some of the situation, the conversation that she had with some of these fisher folks. But I know that she's going to be back on very, very soon, and I'm hoping that she can shed some light, because the BFF has been saying this for quite some time now. Our fisher folks are living in poverty, and this is a real situation for the amount of money that we have been getting in for conservation that is not going directly to the majority stakeholders that uses that resources. It's unjust. It's unjust, sis.
Thank you very much, Nigel Martinez, Director of Belize Federation of Fishers. Big thanks to Alexis for anyone who listen to radio or they miss out on the maps. I think I forgot the name of the cartographer. Marisol did give him credit yesterday. His name, like I say, Jamani Balderramos, I think his name is. And so they were showing the map of Belize to include the territorial waters and the exclusive economic zone. I just want one opportunity. Thanks, Nigel.
Okay, good.
One love, brother. Guidance. I just want to brag in, right? Because, anytime we get a chance to brag in, we take that opportunity. When I saw the map, I said to, you could show it now, Alexei. YUB Educational Foundation, our logo has always been the continent of, a map of the continent of Africa, and it looks different from the one where everybody knows. You know anything I say this map, this particular map where you have used, is skinnier than the ones that most people see, because it's more accurate when it comes to the ratio of the actual land mass to how it's exhibited on a map. Maps have limitations. But anyways, so we have the map of the continent of Africa on the left. On the right, we have the map of Belize. And in UEF's logo of the map of Belize, notice, check it out. We have all the way to the EEE zone in a green, red, and black. Always did. So that's why I'm making to know how forward thinking UEF has been. And that with guidance, and I'm like, I didn't know that. Somebody bring it to my attention, and I'm like, sure, that's a beef we logo. So you have to pay attention. Thanks, Alexei. If you notice now, if you look from the top right-hand corner, oh, I'm loud. Look, I calm down. I don't know how I get when I get excited. If you look from the top left-hand corner of your screen, you want to see one digital clock. That new for XTV. I suggested it. Alexei found it. And we are very appreciative of it. because they help to do whatever you do, and you just want to look up on the world at what time. So now, XTV now have one digital clock, top left corner of your screen. Big thanks to Nigel Martinez, the director of the Belize Federation of Fishers, who they're saying that they represent over 3,000 fishers. I think the majority of those fishers are in the north. I think maybe 60% are from the north, and 44% will be from the south. Again, you could look out for that campaign where UEF will continue to lead. It won't only be about the blue bond. It will actually be, because let me do the bulk of the work with awesome support, I must say. But for maximize my energy, what it will be, what is it called? The ESCASO agreement, which is a regional agreement in Latin America and the Caribbean for the people to have access to information, public participation, and justice in environmental matters in Latin America and the Caribbean. So what UEF will continue to do in a more structured way is to have a ESCASO agreement campaign, and inclusive of that will be the Blue Bond from a human rights perspective. You know anything? Working in partnership with some students out of the University of Antwerp, the whole island thing, and they developed, they did a whole research inclusive of, and I tell them they need to go back and look for African descendant racialized as Black people, specifically when they talk about fisher folk. Anyways, that's another story. So I'm going to tell them about Brother Gush John, who's scheduled to be on at 8 o'clock, and he'll probably be on till about 8:45. So I'm going to go ahead and call in 280-5848, 280-5848. I have to report back that tomorrow, UEF, UBAD Educational Foundation, is leading our hair discrimination protests, hoping that the weather hold up. So the intention is to have it twice a month through the rest of the year from 8 to 12 in front of the Belize District Education Center on Mahogany Street behind the complex. UEF, they lead this charge because the state, the government of Belize, the Ministry of Education specifically, have one duty for create one national hair policy to ensure that no Belizean student is ever again denied their right to education because of how their hair is styled or how it grows at their skull. I found a number, and I had shared this before, but I'm gonna do the phrase, not a deep dive, looking at news stories. I came to Belize March 2006. And I remember in 2006, 2007, a hair discrimination story, but at the time, you know, social media wasn't then what it is now. So I only could go back so far looking in social media, but this has been ongoing. I remember within the year 2006, 2007, either somebody may come to me or it make the news about a hair discrimination situation. And a number of parents, family members felt that for make their children not get targeted, and because they need an education, just cut your hair and go along. So the stories that I have found, because, well, tomorrow morning, I don't know if I could, I hope that that we'll be able to protest, but let me just share this, and I'm encouraging Belizeans to come out. Now, in the past, UEF has led with awesome community support as always, holding the state accountable, and the state has changed their law. So the power of the people is greater than the people in power. So the Master Chief Operator, Alexis Belial, she's an amazing artist. I asked her for, you know how we go, we don't show ourselves people. So I asked her for make some signs, some placards that will be vibrant, providing in a rain tomorrow, and I'm trusting the process. So I was showing them before we got a break, and showing them, because of the left eye, I sign in this morning. And I asked Belizeans, students who could not go to work, who could not go to school or go to school late, and I'm asking primary school students, high school students, sixth form students, university students, I'm asking parents, I asked them why we don't go to school, anybody with a wear natural hair. UEF advocate for African descendants racialized as Black people, but this hair policy that UEF is holding the state accountable to create and to put in stiff penalties, so if anybody violate, they have to pay, UEF suggestion, $50,000 Belize first offense, $100,000 Belize second offense, $150,000 third offense, in a $50,000 increment based on the offenses. Now, as sure as I'm an African and there is a creator, the government of Belize will create a hair policy. Even if I did, and then they create it, no say, they will create it. Why? Because I trust the process, it's the right thing to do, and we have the backative of the people. All the people that want to report hair violations, they want to report hair violations, well then and children still live with that trauma. So from the years that I checked, we have news reports from 2012, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2022, 2023, 2024, from 6 districts, 3 villages, 4 towns, 1 city, that being Belize City. In Belize District, the stories that I have 11 listed, 4 in Belize District and 3 from Belize City. So that under both administration, that you have these hair discrimination reports in the news in Belize. Talk to me. Morning.
Hello?
Tell me.
Morning, sis. How are you?
Morning. Give thanks. I wake up and I breathe and I move. Brother George?
Always a blessing to hear and see you on TV, sis.
Thanks. You got 5 minutes. Got a break at 7:30.
Yes. Yeah, I heard my colleague and brother Nigel called in a little while ago.
Yes.
And I just want to dot the I's and cross some of the T's briefly. One, I was talking about political geography. Most spoke about wealth and told yesterday.
Brother George,
yes,
make your call back after the break so you don't have to get interrupted in your thoughts.
All right, no problems.
All right. Thanks, brother.
All right, yeah.
We won't take any more calls until after the break, and I hope Brother George call in first. Brother Cliff just come out and tell me, yeah, lower your voice. So make I calm myself down. So we have to go to a break at 7:30, and according to the clock, it's 7:25. So I'm going to tell you about the UEF advocating for a national hair policy so that Belizean students, which it is their right to have an education, and it's their right to express themselves culturally based on their identity in their hair. This management of hair in schools and in spaces of employment is very much European colonizer, imperialist domination of people, wanting people to adhere to European values. People have different positions on it, and that's their human right. But more and more, and you could go online and Google it, there are other countries who are making these changes. So I think, is it Anguilla, I think, and I was surprised if I'm not mistaken, I think Anguilla is the first Caribbean countries to make the hair policy change. I think Trinidad did, and I think last it was Puerto Rico, and maybe a country on the continent of Africa. Belize won't be next. But make I show you the first sign. I'm so proud of Alexei. This quote is actually a quote that I got from our sister Pambana Bassett, who organized with Belize for a period of time. She's currently in Europe working on her PhD, so it could be even more useful to we as a people. So this is the first sign. It says, you can see it? Hair so strong, it stands by itself. So that is in relation to African people, black people here naturally. I know as an artist, and Alexei had help. Look for this one. Don't you love it? I absolutely love it. How creative. So I'd encourage Belizean people tomorrow from 8 to 12, and I have to thank the Belize Police Department. I had about going 19 years. I can't tell how much protest I don't participate in now. This is the first time I have gotten so much love. I mean, genuine love on the Belize Police Department, Raccoon Street specifically, precinct, callbacks, just really very supportive. And so I want to thank them. And then, of course, I have, for protests, you have to get on permit. And the first time I get on permit, where I don't have to go in every single time I want to protest. So they give me one permit all the way through to the end of December. And then I have to thank my protest permit crew. Usually the same good troublemakers. You have to have one JP, so we must exit the JP. And the other 2 good troublemakers, the Perry Stick Smith from, my mind just gone blank from Perry Sticks movement. What's Sticks movement name? Cliff? My mind gone blank. And then the next person is my daughter niece, Makeda Marin. Sticks, hold me accountable. Text me. I just gone blank. Sticks movement. What is it? Days of Healing. Yes, Days of Healing. Perry Stick Smith from Days of Healing. Anytime I call a brother, night or day, because you have to have 2 sureties for sign the bond, and then you have to have 1 JP. So that's what's needed for a protest. And there's another protest coming up. This is one from within the Caribbean, but we'll talk about that another time. It is 7:28 according to the clock, left corner of your screen. So remember, we'll go to break at 7:30, and we will have 2 Cents Cam, which is being sponsored by Fort Point Security and produced by Brick City. And then after that, we'll take a break. We'll open back the phone lines, and I'm hoping that Brother George Myvitt, who's the consultant for Belize Federation of Fishers, will be able to call back because he wanted to share some more about the article that Marisol wrote. I can't bring it up right now. Yeah, so he wanted to share more about that, about the hardship of fishers. Many of our fishers, majority, are impoverished people, yet you have these environmental NGOs, for example, and the government of Belize who get bags, millions of US dollars annually for years for conservation, using fishers' names, saying that it's about the fishers and alternative livelihoods when the fishers are not getting the benefit of those bags of millions of US dollars. So it's 8:30, it's 2 Cents Cam time, and it's being brought to us by Fort Point Security.
You're watching WB and this is XTV. And right now I want to find out the people in 2 Cents, if Belizeans have that passion and that love for each other again, like back in the days. Let's go find out the people in 2 Cents. 2 Cents question of the day. You think Belizeans have self-love anymore, like what we just have in the days for each other?
Virgin, that's going good. We have to find love in our heart for each other. That's what we have to find.
Yeah, you're 2 Cents. Like how we just have love in the days to the day?
Of course, you know, so we just say, man, like, well, we managed to retrieve our body instead of just left it right there.
Yeah.
You understand me? One slightly incident happen, you know, like night, like in the night and what's not. Yes, we still got love because people in the community we still want to come out and assist, so, you know, so simply we can every means and every idea still come, you understand?
So you mean there wrong with this small incident happening?
I'm a partaker in it.
You want to tell me
more
you're
like
part of this side?
My partaker in it, and more like for just, you know, say how I can find and retrieve, you understand me? Because it's not much we can do, because, you know, everything happens so far.
In any way?
No, well, no, so like, best friend.
All right.
Yeah, it's a friend.
Childhood friend.
Yeah, you know, close friend.
I will have to cut the shot out like this, touch you, and I don't even touch the deep part.
No, you know really touch me, you know really touch me. Same too, you touch me, yes, cause we lose one, but same too, you know really affect me, cause life still goes on. If you notice, we still, you know, everything still function.
So your 2 Cents that Belizeans still got love to the day.
Yes,
so.
of course. And we still got good sense and meaning.
Yeah, your 2 Cents.
Of course.
All right. 2 Cents question, do you think Belizeans have love like when it's have back in the days?
More likely we got a lot more. Belize far way advanced than back in the days right now. And that's the problem. We got too much love for ourselves. Yeah. We don't got love for people no more. The thing advanced.
How you, brother? You think Belizeans got love? Where are 2 Cents? You think
I love the ball, man, but man have no love for who they love for real.
You love yourself right now. That's the problem.
So you think yesterday the incident, people put in their love?
Yes, man, 100%. Everybody get together.
People may put in their love, yes. But on the wrong time and the wrong way, brother.
Smart.
Everybody can about do it the wrong way.
Okay.
I never shoot and stick in a kin elephant, beat the fan, be a bear want back. Brother, we got kids, brother.
Yeah.
Your business, me get your in the canal.
Yeah. So you mean to tell me the authorities on the hotel, so I mean nobody jump in there immediately?
I don't know all of that. I don't know all of that. I say the news, and the news said them they should stick in the canal.
All right.
I want to explain to my people. I have kids.
Yeah.
When you forget, you take the whole neighborhood and the whole
community for
raise the picnic dog.
Yeah.
We got love dog, but we love ourselves now. We don't love everybody like first.
Now you're two cents.
Yeah, it take too long, man.
Respect.
Take too long.
All right. What are your 2 cents from the Belizean to the day, from the Belizean where you know if Belizean got love to the day like back in the day?
Why right now, Belizean got lot of love. But the only love where they got vanity, money and materialistic thing. Humanity love, gone.
2 cent question, Mama. You think Belizean got love like back in the days?
No, they don't.
That's what you think? All right. 2 cent question today, Mama. You think Belizean got love like back in the days?
Yeah, you see the bricks, certain people, you just have to you have to chill and watch how to deal with. But love still there. I live at Southside 51 years. My whole family live there. I have a small business there. I try to keep deal with I just adapt with the young people. But any day, yes, we just have to find it. I don't want to think that we have to get the gun. Because I don't know what happened to we black people. All the time, I just look at that we take the licking.
Yeah, that's your 2 cents.
Yes, sir.
All right, see there.
welcome back to Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. The phone number is 280-5848. We have about 15 minutes. Brother George Marvitt, try getting quick so I could share with you, because I know we're going to say what take lead time, because we have another break at 8 o'clock. Good morning. Thanks for calling WB.
Yeah, morning, sister. Me again.
Good and strong. Consultant for Belize Federation of Fisheries, George Marvitt on the line. I good, brother. I give thanks. Teach me.
Good. Yes, sis. Just carrying on from a comment made by Moses yesterday, which was spot on, and he quoted the wealth untold that is embedded in our national anthem, and a lot of people don't know how true this is, and they don't know in the sense that, certainly in terms of the ocean space of Belize, it is unexplored to a large extent, and we really do not know how much wealth we have in the oceans. A little bit of political geography. Before 1992, I believe, we had the traditional 3-mile territorial sea. In 1992, we did the Maritime Areas Act. The Maritime Areas Act is consistent with the United Nations Convention on the law of the sea that Belize signed on to. What that does, it gives nation states the right and the authority to declare, in as much as they could, an expanded territorial sea from 3 miles to 12 miles, and it also gives ocean states the right to declare an exclusive economic zone. Two things here. One, we share a border with various people of various states, including Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and so in the south, as we all know, we could not do 12 miles. On the eastern side, yes, we could have done 12 miles of territorial sea, but two things happened. What we call the baseline migrated from the main reef crest east. And when it did so, the baseline migrated from, let us say, the reef in St. George's Key, the reef in front of Gulf's Key, the reef in front of South Water Key, and it went all the way out to the outer atolls of Lighthouse and Glover's Reef. And so we have 12 miles east of that. What we also have is an exclusive economic zone, but I want to make clear that because of the jurisdiction, political jurisdiction of Mexico and Honduras in the south, we are nowhere near to 200 miles of exclusive economic zone. In my view, we, just eyeballing it, we are probably at best maybe about 30 miles from the baseline. Drawn from the baseline.
Wait, Brother George. I'll try to keep up with you. So, from reading the article with Marisol, right, I thought it was the 12 nautical miles plus the 200. Are you saying instead of 200 is 30, or is 30 from the 200 nautical miles for the exclusive economic zone?
No, we do not have 200 nautical miles of EEZ, far from it.
How much do you think we have?
At the very most, I believe we have about 30 miles at the maximum. But as we spoke about, the cartographer is a young gentleman from Coastal Zone Management Authority and Institute. They would be able to do the arithmetic. I think that they did an excellent job. Long story short, though, we ended up with significantly more ocean space, and this obviously has positive implications for livelihood. It has positive implications for food security. It's fish, you're fishing, and obviously there's trade, there's food security, there's jobs, etc. Right? So some of the wealth untold definitely was enhanced with the Maritime Areas Act. Just for those who might find this relevant, when you ask Belize people how big Belize, the first thing they say, those who know, is Belize is 867 square miles. Or, for people who go metric, it's about 22,966 square kilometers. That is not the extent of Belize, and Moses was making the point. Belize is continental space plus ocean space, and the ocean space is actually significantly bigger than the continental mass, the ocean space, is actually 13,966 square miles. So the total area of Belize is actually 22,833 square miles, or about 59,148 square kilometers.
Wait. You can't say that. You can't say that. So. I gotta try calm down. Now, all the people for 43 years and before in a colonized time, direct colonization, tell me something different. So please say that again, so we could start to say it.
Well, make us start with the land spaces. We say that the land space is 8,867 square miles. But in my mind, it is 8,867 plus. Why am I saying this is? I believe that the 8867 relates only to continental Belize. Somebody had a lot of time on their hand, and they actually counted 1,304 keys / islands in Belize.
1,304?
Yes, 1,304 key. When you talk about key, people know San Pedro, Key Kaka, St. George's Key, English Key, but really, there are about 1,304 keys in Belize. Obviously, not all of them inhabited, but I would like to think that nobody actually surveyed the geographic extent of those keys in terms of area and added them on to 8867. So, in my view, when you say how big Belize, at least the land space, it's 8867 square miles and counting. Somebody needs to do that arithmetic. I remember when we were going through the issue of the ICJ conversation, Mr. Lindsay Belisle, you talk about cartographer. This man is like a master surveyor / cartographer. He weighed in and he was he was commenting on the fact that it's more than the lawyers. There are issues that the lawyers need to bear in mind that they probably did not bear in mind in terms of arguments that they would need to be aware of.
You mean to say we go in front of an international court without the accurate size of the country where we claim?
Well, sis, one of the fundamental flaws of issues related to the courts in general is that we leave it to the lawyers, but really, especially going into the National Court of Justice, there needs to be a multidisciplinary team of lawyers, cartographers, surveyors, strategic thinkers going in there. If you leave it to the lawyers, I believe that we will not be putting our best foot forward. Just switching back though to the issue of the marine space, I made the point yesterday that it's wealth untold but not wealth unlimited. And so when you look at the fishery resources, in the traditional seas that we know of, we call it the barrier platforms, that would be the shallow seas that run from all the way from the north in San Pedro and Burgess Key to Sarstoon.
What do you call it?
The barrier platform.
The barrier platform.
Yeah, and that's the area behind the reef, behind the main reef. When you look at the barrier platform and the three atolls, and atolls are basically just some mountains that have pierced the sea surface with island on them. So, for example, when you look at Turnef is not an island. Turnef is a collection of keys. I don't know the arithmetic of it, but there are quite a few keys on Turnef. Turnef itself, the atoll is about the size of Barbados. And quite a bit of Turnef itself is actually land. And so when I said, we don't know, I don't think that we have an accurate count of what the land area is. I mean that. East of Turnef is Lighthouse Reef again. a number of keys out there. I think there are about 8 keys. In Turnef, there would not be less than about perhaps 30 keys on Turnef. Some of them are quite large, actually. Like, for example, Blackbird Key on Turnef is about 11 miles long. You see, so, you know, just a little bit of political geography there. Again, in terms of the first stop, sis, the problem that we have when we talk about conservation, most people think about dolphins, and they think about manatees, and they think about sea turtles when we talk about the marine space. But actually, the most important species in the marine space is the species Homo sapiens sapiens, aka man. If you're talking about conservation, you can't leave man out of the equation, because man is actually impacting those resources for livelihood, he's impacting them for leisure, he's impacting them for food security, etc., etc. And so a part of the conversation that is missing as we treat with issues of managing the marine space is, what about men? What about man? What about man/woman, the species Homo sapiens? I was at a session that was hosted by the Ministry of Blue Economy. And I was a bit taken aback that thus far, going back perhaps about 3 or 4 months ago, $18 million has been spent, has been mobilized already. You know how much of that went to fishers?
What time frame the $18 million $18
million, it's from the Conservation Fund, I believe, mainly. Conservation Fund was set up in relation to the Blue Bond arrangement that GOB has entered into with WCS, I believe. It's really a debt for nature swap. Of that $18 million that has been deployed thus far, zero has gone to supporting fishers.
What George?
You have to move, and not you, not me or you, but the powers that be, policymakers, the technical institutions, have to move from paying lip service to the concept of conservation, because the greatest enemy to conservation, to the sustainable management of resources, is poverty. And one of the tragedies of belief is that because people are not keeping in mind numero uno, which is the species Homo sapiens sapiens, what we have in Belize is poverty. Among the poorest fishers in the Caribbean is Belize. There was a survey that was done in 2012 by the CRFM, the Caribbean Fisheries Mechanism, and they found that of 7 nations that they surveyed, Belize was the second to the poorest. We were only, I guess, less poor than fishers in Guyana at the time. But you know what happened with oil in Guyana, right? So Belize is, in my view, not only the poorest, but getting poorer. Because the support is not coming to fishers, it's actually going in large measure to the conservation community. No complaint from the conservation community in relation to the Blue Bond. And it's not only the Blue Bond, but going forward, hundreds of millions of dollars, Belize and US will be deployed and spent over the next 10 years. And you know what the share in there for fishers is? It has not been identified. My brother, I just spoke about, I think it's a World Bank or IDB tranche of about $7 million US dollars, 15 million Belize dollars. And if you look at the arithmetic of that, again, where there's one drop in the bucket, you will see that it's not a significant relative to the other parties that will benefit from those financial outlays. So I'm just sounding, sis, I don't want this to sound like a complaint session, that there are challenges, but there are also opportunities. And unless we depart the lip service of conservation to the real work of getting the primary stakeholders to a different place than where they are, then it's not going to work. All the conservation effort and all these pretty speeches has not shifted the needle of poverty to a better place. That $18 million has not shifted the poverty needle at all. In fact, our fishers are under threat. You want to talk about threatened species? Fishers are under immense threat in Belize.
Brother, I lost for words. I just hurt. And one of the reasons why I prefer using the word impoverished, because it's someone doing something for people to be living in that condition. It's not that people are born in that condition. Like enslavement was a condition. Someone did something, and that's why we use the word enslavers and enslaved. So that the onus is on the institution, the entity, the people who are creating a condition of life for people. Brother George?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh no, that 8 o'clock, that break time. But you made an excellent point of why our fishers, and not just fishers, the fishers and families, the families generate. Yes. One of the fishers told us when we went up north in Sartaneha, the first day I got up, Sartaneha, Chinooks, Kapabank, then they tell for their children, go get to an education, then they tell them to be fishers. These are generational fishers. That's what they tell them, youth, they know. It not happen.
Well, sis, I know you got to go, but I'll say that one of the issues that we have to deal with is what we call the open access fishery. There's no limit on the amount of fishers that can go to sea, and it's not only the commercial fishers, but there's also fierce competition from recreational fishers. And so the stocks are being depleted, and there's really no program that is built on sustainability. But sis, thanks for the opportunity to have spoken on this issue, and you carry on the good work.
Thanks, George. One love.
All right.
It's break time, and I know Sister Sandra would have want to call in, because again, she was the singular voice leading this conversation, even before the ICJ, but especially during that time. This at one time, I could say I had a witness to her leading that particular concern. When it comes to not going to the ICJ, when it comes to the Maritime Act, respect to Sister Sandra Cowie. It's break time. When we come back, Brother Gus John from Grenada, living in the UK, I think since 1964, should be our guest. Stay tuned. to Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes for this morning, Tuesday, October 29th, 2024. And as I said, we have a guest via Zoom from the UK. We have Elder Gus John with us this morning. He is originally from Grenada. And Elder Gus! Morning is a good troublemaker, Elder. How are you being this morning, Elder Gus?
I've been very good. I've been doing a lot. You guys.
I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing you. Is your mic on? All right. So we're getting Elder Gus situated. Elder Gus is on this morning in particular because of an article he recently wrote. I think it was last Friday. It was published it's online at the Canary. And Canary is a left-wing news website based in the UK. And the article is entitled, Gus John Delivers a Scathing Open Letter to David Lammy Over Black History Month and UK Slavery Reparations. And what happened? Oh, and the concern, and you will hear him share himself, he was invited to have a sit down for a Black History Month ceremony, and Brother Gus John was asking why is the state having this so-called sit down for Black History Month. And what he said specifically is that he was puzzled as to why a Secretary of State to Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs should be hosting a reception in your office on the occasion of celebrating Black History Month. Brother Gus, are you there?
I am very much here.
I'm not hearing Brother Gus. It's not your fault that I'm not hearing you. It has to do with my earpiece. I'm not hearing Cliff.
Well, I'm not muted.
So we have to work on getting that. So I can hear Brother Gus. I'm not hearing him. We're working on it. Bear with us
Okay.
as we get this sorted out. And so in the opinion piece of the Guardian, and I'm just sharing while we get the mic, my earpiece situated. In this article that Brother Gus wrote, besides being puzzled as to why the Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs should be hosting a reception in his office on the occasion of celebrating Black History Month, and that person is David Lammy. He's of Guyanese heritage. Brother Gus, I'm back, and I can hear now. Brother Gus?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you now. I'm a good troublemaker, brother. Good morning. How are you being?
I'm very good, thank you.
It's good to have you here.
Good to be with you. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, of course. Just I didn't know I was going to be the host. The timing. I don't want to take up the time. People aren't here to hear me talk, but I'm appreciative that you took the time, especially because of this recent article that you wrote. But I wanted people to know, and you could tell them better than me. I met Brother Gus, tomorrow will make it 1 year to the date since I actually met you in person.
Really?
Yes, in London at the time. Brother Gus had at the time released, October is Black History Month in the UK, and he had released these two books.
Right. The book.
Blazing Trail, Stories of a Hero Generation, Gus John, prefaced by Margaret Busby. Of course, I have both books, and one was autographed. And then Don't Salvage the Empire, Windrush, Gus John, with a preface by Professor William Les Henry. So if you could share with us, Brother Elder Gus, a little bit about yourself, coming from Grenada, and just give us a little, so people can better understand how you became the human being that you are today, whatever you're comfortable with sharing with us.
Well, thank you. As you said, I was born in Grenada. I lived there for 17 years, then went to Trinidad to be with my aunt when my mother came to the UK to join my father, and then left my aunt to come to England, not to join my parents as such, but to study. I was studying theology at the University of Oxford, and there got absorbed in the struggles of black parents in relation to their children's schooling, so that even while I was studying theology, I was an activist on education issues. In 1966, I, with a couple of parents, started the first black supplementary school in England, and that was based in East Oxford. Theology didn't last very long. I was too conflicted in terms of Roman Catholic theology, and particularly the role of Christianity in propping up and expanding imperialism and colonialism. So I became a Marxist rather than a priest, and left the Dominican order that I had come to England to join, and became pretty active in political mobilization and what I call building communities of resistance. So my life has been centered around two things. One, education and delivering educational rights and entitlements for black children. Black, I'm using as a universal term now, to represent the global majority. And two, to fight for the delivery of human rights and civil liberties to the black population of Britain. So I've done that for the last 60 years.
And from this article and other, I went to do some additional research on you, and I'm like, am I reading right? I'm like, I was really, I was hurt and horrified, because it's one thing to advocate on behalf of others. Oftentimes I find that it's lived experience that inspired us. And I saw an article where you mentioned the horrific experience that happened with your father and your brother.
Yes. Yes.
I was just horrified. And we are very disconnected. You would have an older generation that would have gone to England. Like, I was born there for that reason in '66. But, and so we're very disconnected from the realities of what it's like for black people, African descendants, racialized as black people, to live in the heart of empire and what they're still living with today. So if you feel comfortable in sharing that, so people can understand how horrible it was and still is for African people globally.
But yes, I mean, thank you for that. Let me preface what I'm going to say by saying this. We have a tendency, because we as African people are so very generous, we have a tendency to suggest or imagine that white people are generally good and decent, and that in the main they are as committed to human liberation and to issues of social justice as we are. Now, there is a danger in generalizing, right? But let me say this. It would be wrong, in fact suicidal, for us to assume that whatever motivated their ancestors to indulge in barbarism and treat our ancestors in the way that they did is still very much alive within these white European societies. And indeed, as we saw in South Africa, amongst those who themselves, the Boers, etc., who used to be European. So in a sense, we shouldn't, they call themselves enlightened. They call themselves developed, and they see all of us as underdeveloped and coming from underdeveloped nations. But we should not underestimate the capacity of those people for murder and genocide and mayhem and barbarism, basically. And so it shouldn't surprise us when, as people who were formerly enslaved and subjugated and made as chattel labor to create wealth for them, it shouldn't surprise us when we come to these spots and their descendants treat us in the same way that their forebears treated our ancestors. So that's my first observation. So arising out of that, then, we came here and there were signs all over the place saying no blacks, no niggers, no wogs, no dogs. And it was plastered all over the place. The police didn't go around removing those signs. Those who put those signs up were not prosecuted. And we just had to live with it and learn to defend ourselves from verbal and physical attack, abuse, harassment by those people. Which is why I find it utterly monstrous that there should be some amongst us who are trying to project our presence here as some kind of a benign activity of compliant, patriotic, colonial people coming to join the mother country and rebuild it after 2 world wars. In my view, that is backward, it's politically illiterate, it is historically inaccurate, and all that stuff. But needless to say, the British state has adopted that, validated it, anointed it as a trope that they approve of and want to support. This story of the Windrush bringing 500 people to Britain in 1948 as being the start of the black presence in this country. It ignores the generations that went before. It ignores the fact that in the 1914 to 1918 war, and they were fighting all around Africa to gain land and all that kind of stuff. There were many people from the West India Regiment and from the African Regiment who, on demobilization, decided that they would stay in Britain. Some were in London, some were in Cardiff, some were in Liverpool, Manchester, North Tyneside, and so on. And although they had lost loads like themselves, over 1,500 died on the battlefields of Europe. And they themselves, some of them were maimed with life-changing injuries and the rest of it. When they went out socializing and went to a dance or a club or whatever it is, white people descended upon them and started terrorizing them, beating them up and so on, because they had the audacity to go and dance with white women. So there was an ingrained racism which manifested itself even amongst those, towards those as targets, who had themselves risked life and limb to bring liberty to Britain. And that happened in both world wars. So at 1 minute, they are fighting in Europe to prevent the expansion of Nazism. The next minute, they're back in England, and English people are treating them no better than the Nazis did. So that's the context within which we have had to exist in post-war Britain. And it is in that context that the 2 incidents I described, horrendous incidents, actually took place. In 1959, 2 years after my father got here to Britain, Kelso Cochran, a carpenter from Antigua, going home from work, he had damaged his hand in an accident at work, went to the hospital, they patched him up. He left there walking to his house, and he was descended upon by white racists, and they killed him. They stabbed him, they kicked him, they did whatever, and the poor man was dead for no other reason than the fact that he was black and walking the streets to go to his home after doing a hard day's work. Okay. The police were told who the assailants were. They interviewed one fellow and let him go. And to this day, all these years later, nobody has been charged for Kelso Cochran's murder. But the murderer himself was telling other people that he did it. And in that period, as that wonderful brother Ishmael Blagrove wrote in his book, The Frontline, Caribbean people had to arm themselves with missiles, and in these 2 and 3 and 4 story houses that they lived in the Notting Hill area, Ladbroke Grove, and Westbourne Park and so on, they had to arm themselves with those missiles. So when these white racists were coming to attack their homes and try to burn them down and so on, they could hurl those missiles from windows above and damage them on the streets and deter them from coming to take their lives. It was brutal. But in that same period, the police were running around London talking glibly, nonchalantly, ordinarily about going nigger hunting. And they would leave their police stations, get into their squad cars, drive around, looking for black people to harass and brutalize. So my point is that the state itself was perpetuating racism and racial violence against people. It took that form in terms of what the police were doing. When they brought those same people whom they had harassed to courts, magistrates would believe the police version of events and not the black defendants. In fact, when I was doing research for my book with a journalist colleague called Derek Humphrey, in 1972, we published a book 52 years ago, we published a book called Police Power and Black People. And when I was researching that book, I started magistrates' courts and heard magistrates tell defendants who were giving evidence in their own defense, are you suggesting that my policemen are liars? So the magistrate, the judge on the bench who's supposed to be adjudicating this thing was actually demonstrating openly how biased they were, because it was clear that they were preferring the police version of events, the concocted, lying version of events, more than that of the defendants who had been harassed by the police. And it is within that context, too, that we've got to understand that from 1962 till now, every piece of immigration legislation in Britain has been draconian, racist, and designed to keep as many of us out of this place as possible. Now, the important thing is that the British government has never bothered to tell its own white population that we are here because they were there, as Stephen Anden at the Institute of Race Relations used to love saying. We are here because Britain didn't stay at home. It came, it rapaciously plundered, it took our lands, it erased our traditions, it spat on our African spirituality and imposed Roman Catholicism and other forms of Christian religion upon us. And all of that the British used to help white people define their identity. So they saw themselves as white and privileged and superior and supremacist, and they saw us as these brutes who they thankfully rescued from Africa, enslaved in the Caribbean, and taught us God, taught us the white God, and they taught us everything English and British. So when in 1965, these white racists saw my father coming from work, similarly as Kelso Cochrane had done in 1959, and pounced upon him, they beat him to a pulp, and the only reason why my father survived was because he had the good sense to run into somebody's doorway, pick up a bottle of milk, because milk floats delivered milk to houses at that time. He broke the bottle and cut off the ear of one of his assailants. Right off, he nearly got the guy's jugular. And his mates picked him up, ran away with him, and my father came home bloodied and bruised. Now, my dad came here to England, to London in 1957, to join my uncle, who had been here since 1951. He came to do a PhD. My mother joined my father in 1960. But by 1972, February 1972, both of them were out of England. After that experience that my father had, they resolved that they could not live in racist Britain anymore, and they weren't going to risk their lives anymore. And they would sooner die in poverty in Grenada than be subjected to this racist filth in England. So they both went back. They were amongst the first returners to go back to the Caribbean. Many people like me and others of their generation stayed in this country pretty much for the rest of their lives. But my parents went back and enjoyed a life in Grenada until they passed on. My father at 75, who died the day before Maurice Bishop and they were massacred on the fort in St. George's. And my mother in 1996, at the age of 86.
Elder Gus, I'll need to go to break.
That was a long answer.
Thanks, Elder Gus. We'll have to take a quick break, and then we'll come back, and then you could continue sharing with us. Break time. I'm still hearing the theme song. Tuesday, October 29th, we have our guest from the UK, born in Grenada, Elder Gus John, a good troublemaker mentor. We only have about 10 minutes left, and really it was because of the the open letter that you sent to David Lammy, the Labour Party Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs of the United Kingdom. Well, another thing, that's why I love good troublemakers, you know. One of the things I was just wow when I did research on Brother Gus, I'm like, he refused one of the, you know, the alphabets letter thing when they like you as member of the British Empire, what people think they're a paper when they get it. So, Brother Gus, before you talk about African reparations, just tell me why you tell them people you never won the alphabet soup award from the British Empire.
Well, as your listeners would have heard me say in the last few minutes, my entire life in Britain has been dedicated to uprooting the vestiges of empire and dealing with its impact upon our people, not just in Britain, but across the world. To cut a long story short, the British have this way of giving out these gongs, commander of the British Empire, order of the British Empire, whatever, and then they make people baronesses and lords and whatever. It's all antiquated, it's all elitist, it's all frankly very stupid, right? Okay, so in 1999, November, Tony Blair, who became the leader of the Labour Party and Prime Minister in 1997, wrote to me saying that he was minded to ask the Queen to make me a commander of the Order of the British Empire in the New Year's Honours 2000 Millennium Honours list. And I had to write back to the fellow and tell him, have some respect. Don't bring this nonsense to me, of all people. You know my record, and that I've been fighting against racism, especially state racism, since 1964. So how could I, as a sensible person with a particular political orientation, go and accept to be a commander of the Order of the British Empire, for Christ's sake? So basically I said to him, stuff it. You can do what you like with it, but don't bring it anywhere near me. And that's consistent with what I'm about to say, because I want to spend the next couple of minutes talking about this reparations issue. You will know that CARICOM has put together a 10-point plan talking about reparations and the need for reparatory justice. CARICOM's focus is almost exclusively on the Caribbean and the African diaspora in the Caribbean who were enslaved, etc., etc., etc. Now, our view, and we are both members of the International Network of Scholars and Activists on African Reparations, our view is that reparations have got to be about us as former descendants of former enslaved Africans, but also about Africa itself, from whom so many of us had been taken and then killed. Africa, where they had erased so much of our traditions, stole our land, and land is the most precious thing that God gave us. Stole our land, destroyed and killed our people, and generally subjugated the whole population to their capitalist exploits. They captured the gold mines, they captured diamonds, copper, zinc, all sorts of stuff. And let's remember, we are having this discussion in 2024, 140 years after the Berlin Conference of 1884, when 14 European countries got together with no Africans present at all and determined how they would divide up Africa. So they gave some to the French, the Germans, Namibia and Southern Africa, the British, a whole swathe of the globe to the British, the French, and so on. And we are still suffering the consequences of that. People like Kwame Nkrumah, who had a vision of an independent and free, sovereign Africa, were murdered. You could name them all. Nkrumah, Sankara, Machel, the whole lot. All those people who had a vision for an Africa that was self-determining, that was going to use its natural resources for the advancement of its people, and that saw themselves as not operating as single units, but as unitary, regional, and continental sovereign entities. They were all dismembered according to the designs of Britain, Europe, with the aid of the IMF and the World Bank. Now, so it is in that context that we've got to understand the call for reparations and reparatory justice. That complete clown, the Prime Minister of this country, Keir Starmer, the man is a Zionist dunderhead. That's what he is, right? He is suggesting that the reparations issue is long ago, and the current generation of white people in Britain should not be made responsible for the sins of their fathers. What he and this king and all of them are failing to understand, or they would prefer us to forget, is that the wealth that they enjoyed from enslavement is generational. It expands and recycles itself from one generation to the next. Meanwhile, we remain in poverty. I mean, look at Haiti right now, for God's sake. How is it possible? And that nation had been paying the French. It should have been the other way around, but Haiti had to pay the French until comparatively recently. We, as Caribbean people, were still paying the debt that Britain incurred to raise the 20 million pounds to pay those people who had enslaved our ancestors, to pay them for loss of property. What property they were talking about? Your great-grandparents and mine. That was the property. They got compensated to the tune of 20 million pounds, which is more than about 26 billion in today's money. Now, if it took until 2015 for them to pay that debt from 1838 and 1848, why do they assume that they can't even now begin to correct all the damage that they've done and make restitution, even if it takes them the next 100 years? So my grandchildren, your grandchildren, might not benefit from it today, but at least they have a responsibility, moral, financial, legal, to pay all of that. So that there is some rebalancing of opportunity and power in the world.
And to be clear, Elder Gus, that it's not just about financial compensation. The repair that needs to happen. And the repair cannot begin to happen until the harm ends, and we're still living with those harms.
Precisely, because one key element of reparatory justice is non-repetition, right? Those who committed those crimes against humanity all those years ago have been repeating them ever since. and some of that stuff has been pretty egregious. It's only recent. The British set up concentration camps, and they had the Mau Mau people, the Kikuyu people, ethnic nationality in Kenya, in concentration camps. People suffered famine. They were starved to death. They were killed, murdered. And not only they, other people in the country who were for independence and the fall of neocolonialism, they too were persecuted and destroyed. So you're absolutely right. And the other thing to be said is that the reparation, the repair, has got to start with us ourselves.
Thanks, Elder Gus. Finish your thought.
We've got to divest ourselves. In 1959, Ahmed Sékou Touré made a speech in Conakry. And he said it then. He said, decolonization is not just an agenda for those who colonized. It's for us ourselves. We've got to divest ourselves of the impact of colonization. Decolonize our minds. Marcus Garvey said it. Bob Marley popularized it in his song Redemption Songs. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. If we don't do that, we become agents of neocolonialism. We oppress one another. We subjugate our own cultures and traditions and so forth. And you know, this Christianity thing has got a lot to answer for, frankly, because it requires, not encourages, it requires us to abandon our spiritual traditions. And in my case, it's totally ironic, right? My great-grandparents were Yoruba people, and they practiced the Ifa tradition with Ogun and Shango and Oshun and Yemoja and all the rest of them. My mother was a staunch Roman Catholic. I was an acolyte, an altar boy from the age of 5, for God's sake. Now, I mean, I don't know why they needed to punish me in that way, but they did, okay? and then from that upbringing, I determined that I was going to go and become a Roman Catholic priest. Until the Creator saved me, sense prevailed, and I saw Christianity for what it was. And now, even now, one of the major obstacles to progress on the African continent is Christianity. People have decided to commodify God and run with that, while white Europeans take all the natural resources that God gave them to make themselves rich. And now they're trying to make themselves rich from poor people like themselves, who have to put their tithes every week or whatever it is into some rich pastor's pocket. The whole thing is diabolical.
Thanks, Elder Gus. I'm way past my break time. I appreciate you being here. Fingers crossed, I should be with you in Grenada for your 80th Earth Strong in March.
I would love that. Absolutely. You must make it happen.
Yes, Elder Gus.
And I'll come to Belize.
Yes. Take good care of yourself, and thank you for being with us this morning. Break time.
God bless you.
It's an massive season with massive deals and rewards at Penny's. From now
9 and 9 wrong, yeah, so I got like whole of 3 minutes. I could calm myself down. Remember, tomorrow morning, as long as in a rain, from 8 to 12, Mahogany Street in front of the Belize District Education Center, UBAD Educational Foundation is leading a protest indefinitely until the government of Belize, the Ministry of Education, creates a hair policy with stiff penalties to ensure that not another Belizean child is denied access to their education because of their natural hairstyle, or because in the case of African descendants racialized as black people, what's called protected hairstyles, or braids, locks, twists. And so that's why we're encouraging Belizeans to come out. You want to be able to tell your children, grandchildren, friends, neighbors, families that I participated in the government of Belize creating a national hair policy. They will do it. I just don't know when, but sure as there's a creator and I'm an African, they will create that hair policy. At the security booth when I came in this morning, we had our brother Solomon Harvester. Now we have security supervisor Shane Flowers. Here in XTV, we have our sister Alexa Belisle, and she created this banner, and I'm encouraging Belizeans to create your banner. Hair so strong it stand by itself. It's a quote from Pambana Bassett. My other sign dropped so I can't reach it. I'd encourage Belizeans with natural hairstyles to come out and support it as long as in a rain. If by 7:30 tomorrow morning it rains 7:30, we'll not have it. But if it not a rain at 7:30, it's on. And thanks to everybody who supported. So we had Alexa Belisle as the Master Chief Operator, Cliff Lewis as the Chief Engineer. Downstairs on the second floor, Crum Radio, we had Roberta Larry G. Tomorrow morning, it's Wednesday, Brother Most High should be back to host. It made it rain earlier, so then people were in a vehicle. Members of people walk here. I started having to tell them to slow down because they splash up this stinking, especially the stinking water. We come like it come from sewer. We bubble up every time it flood. I tell you the things that we live with as Belizeans. But keep heart, right? Because all of the people want to save the people.
Wake up, Belize. 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 Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WUB. Be yourself, see yourself, this is the show my people. Believe our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out, it's the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's all we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make